Good day, my name is Stephen Davids, and in this video I will discuss e-signatures and more specifically free alternatives to them. But let me start off with a disclaimer. Namely, this is a general guideline, so if you want to implement it, please contact your legal advisor. Maybe there are things that are very specific to your area or to your circumstances which you must consider. I will touch on four elements, namely free systems in general. Then we will look at the South African legal requirements for e-signatures, then the general requirements, and then we will focus on a cost-effective alternative, namely an email system that complies with, in my view, the legal requirements and the general requirements. If you search the internet for free electronic signatures, then you will find a lot of systems that is free. But on closer inspection, you will see that they are very limited, mostly sometimes to 2 or 3 email signatures per month, and thereafter you must start paying, or you have a trial period maybe of 30 days, and thereafter you must pay. So there are no real unlimited free e-signatures which I could get. Therefore, I need a system that is free, especially maybe for a small business person who set out and who are cash stressed. First thing you want from your e-signature is that it must comply with the legal requirements in your area. In South Africa, we have the Electronic Communication and Transactions Act number 25 of 2002 that recognizes two types of e-signatures. The first one is the advanced signature, and these advanced signatures, you get them on the internet, and in fact they are emphasized by companies that wants to sell their expensive products. But then you also get a non-advanced signature that is recognized by law and which is not emphasized so much by these companies that want to sell their products. It is also important to know the exclusions and what are not covered by the Act. Exclusions from the ordinary electronic signatures or non-advanced signatures are a suretyship, as well as signatures by a commissioner of oath. These things cannot be signed by an ordinary signature. They can only be signed using an advanced electronic signature. Then there are elements and aspects that cannot be signed via electronic signature at all, and those are, amongst others, an agreement for sale of an immovable property, land of course, long-term leases of land that exceeds 20 years, the signing of a will and a bill of exchange. Other than that, everything else is covered by the Act. I must emphasize that you must consult your legal advisor. But in general, the requirements according to the Act are for an legally valid e-signature is there must be mutual agreement on the format that you will use. The e-signature must identify the sender, the person writing it and signing the document. It must identify his approval of the data. In other words, he therefore also needs to open sometimes a file and not just click. The data that is signed must be identified. In other words, is it a a sales contract, or is it an agreement to provide something? You must at least identify the time and the date when it was signed, and then you must store the documents for an appropriate period. In our case, it is 3 years, and of course there must be the ability to retrieve it should you need to defend and prove the signature in a court of law. In our case, we designed an email system of an e-signature that, in our view, complies with the requirements of the law, and also important, which is free and truly unlimited. For the purposes of this video, I will use our learner contract as an example. Any contract must comply with all the legal requirements of a contract, namely, it must be entered into with a person who are legally able to sign it and to undertake this contract, domicilium citandi et executandis, etc. The first step is that there must be in the contract a clause which stipulates the nature of the electronic signature, as well as that the parties agree to the format that will be used. Thereafter, you create a draft email with the proper heading. In this case, for me, the heading consisted of the topic, the nature of the topic, and this nature of the topic I will then use later on to filter the incoming emails. The fictitious data that I used further on is a surname, the name, the ID number, and then I also use an A and a B here. In this case, of the email which will be sent, I used A. I used the same topic and subject heading on the file I sent out to the person, and the learner agreement then has the different extension, namely B here, so that if I file both documents as PDF, it will appear the one after the other. Thereafter, you have a proper subject, and the subject basically says, if you receive this email, because you had a learner agreement application, do not apply. Then reply, and then in your reply, do not make changes to the heading, because this heading is important for the filing purposes. Do not add any other text, because it is at the very end. You only want to see not other business, only the e-signature password, and then only paste the e-signature password in your reply. And this e-signature password is at the end of the contract. Because you state here, only reply to this email if you intend to digitally sign the document. Indicate your approval of the learner agreement by copying the e-signature password that you will find at the end of the attached learner agreement, and then paste it in this reply to this email. The reason why you have the e-signature password in the attached email, you want to ensure that you have proof that the person opened and read the document, and that he must indicate his approval of the document that he read through. At the end of your contract, you insert your e-signature password. E-signature password, you can make it a strong password, and you rather request the person to copy and paste it than to type it, because it is a strong password, and it makes you mess up and type accidentally wrong. It is forth and back, but he can type it also. And as I pointed out, the file of the agreement must be the same, except that you have a different extension when you file it, which makes it easier to get. We are now at step number C, where you attach this contract file with its embedded e-signature password to the email and you send it away. But also remember to copy Bobcall or your own organization so that you have a copy of everything. And this includes the contract itself that is attached with this embedded password. You will need it later on to prove that the password that the person sent was in fact the password in the email that was requested. The email with the attached contract is then sent off automatically via AutoCrack whenever the form is submitted. You then go to Gmail and you then go to your Gmail account and create the label for the learner agreements, and you can have an electronic learner agreement because you are busy now with the electronic signage of the learner agreement, but you can also make the provision for manual signage where it is not possible. Having these labels, it's advisable then to have the forums shown, because the forums will then also help with the grouping of these email when it is coming in. And when you format the electronic the labels, I prefer to put in the colors so that I can easily see this is learner agreement electronic format that came in here. In addition, you will then need to apply and use a filter. The filter will help you then to automatically label the incoming emails. You manage the label and apply, click on Manage Labels on the side menu. Then you go to the filters. Block filters, you will create a filter. In this case, the filter was already created. I'll show you how it was edited. And therefore, can you see the subject here? The subject heading is Learner Agreement e-signature. So whatever other elements coming in here, maybe the individual name, ID number, those things are different. But as long as the ID is here, and therefore the request was that a person must not change the e-signature, it will be filtered. Continue. And you also say label, apply the label to incoming email as learner agreement, and then categorize it as forums. You would not necessarily have to do this, but I prefer it. And at this moment in time, you cannot create categories, but you deal with the cards that you have. You click then just update filters, and there you have it. There you have it. There are only a few steps remaining, namely step number I. You save your incoming email and its attachments as a PDF in a separate folder. I like to save it in a separate folder. Remember to save both the incoming email and the attachment, because you must prove that the person pasted and read the document and pasted the password as requested. After saving it on your hard drive, as an additional security measure, you can archive the incoming emails and the attachment, store it for 3 years in our case, and then regularly change the e-signature password in the contract file so that it regularly updates and people have different e-signature passwords. In this video, we have addressed the shortcomings of so-called free e-signatures. We paid attention to the legal and general requirements of an e-signature in the South African context and proposed an alternative. Thank you very much for watching this video. We love constructive comments. Please like and share this video.